Blood seniors bow out in end of an era, but reserves go through to a grand final. By Josh Huntley.
It was the end of the season and the end of an era for the Warrandyte Football Netball Club. The Bloods made a brave foray into Division 4 finals, facing a series of cutthroat clashes en route to an eventual preliminary final exit. Warrandyte, requiring victory against Croydon North MLOC Kangaroos in the final round to qualify for finals, delivered a 35-point win over the Kangaroos, sparked by a 6-goal haul from Josh Appleby, 4 to Jake Moss, contributions from Josh Myers and Zach Carroll, and a physics-defying effort from Will Nelson. It thrust Warrandyte into something that at round 4 seemed unlikely after as many consecutive defeats, an elimination final up against Kilsyth at East Ringwood Reserve. An arm wrestle in pristine condition saw the Bloods 5 points the merrier at half-time, as young key defender Noah Habjan stood tall under pressure, but the Cougars kept coming to take a similar lead in the final break. With the Bloods faithful at full voice, Will Gribus was calm and collected to slot a lead-restoring set shot, but the result would not be apparent until the dying minutes when a piece of Jake Moss magic sent the crowds into raptures. Moss collected the ball near half-back, took a couple of bounces down the wing and unleashed a miracle shot from 50 metres to put the cherry on top of a 12-7-79 to 9-14-68 victory, Warrandyte's first finals victory since the 2015 Grand Final. Habjan, still under 19's age, was judged best on ground, while Jack Palmer, Josh Myers, Josh Appleby with 3 goals, and ruckman Noah Redaway, playing his second final as many after suiting up for the reserves, were all influential.
I think the fact that we won a senior final for the first time since then is a huge achievement, especially to give the club and the players some confidence. Kilsyth were our bogey side throughout the year twice, so I just wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Bloods coach Paul Donoghue said. Thrust into a preliminary final against Whitehorse Pioneers, however, any hopes of a grand final berth were scuppered by the more experienced Pioneers. Josh Beasley, with 3 goals, and Josh Appleby toiled hard down forward, while Will Nelson, Nick Sharp and Nick DePrew also battled for the Bloods, who couldn't quite switch into gear in a 40-point defeat to draw the curtain on season 2025.
We obviously had a few questions put to us early in the season, and I think it was a good test for the boys. After the game, I was really proud of us for sticking with it and continuing what we had been teaching, learning and growing together because we knew our best was good enough.
The defeat also marked the end of an era. Fifth-year coach Donoghue announced his resignation in the lead-up to the preliminary final, with 2-time best and fairest Zach Carroll also calling time on a glittering playing career. Donoghue joined the club as a player in 2019 before taking the reins in 2021, while Carroll's experience was keenly felt after a career that spanned the highest level of the Eastern Football League.
It's really mixed feelings. I love doing it. I've worked and grown a lot in 5 years. I remember back to my first game, which was actually round 2 of 2021. We beat Ferntree Gully at Ferntree Gully, and in a game that we were really challenged in, and the opposition kicked 7 goals in a row. I looked back at that now, and I'm not sure I really knew what I was doing on the day, and I'm not saying that I do now because every day is different in the job. I think the last 2 rounds of this year, when the heat was on and the boys had to win to make finals and we knocked off Whitehorse and then Croydon North, the highlight for me is that feeling you have after a win, that you see that enjoyment in everyone from the supporters through to the players. That half an hour after those wins in the rooms is what you play for, and I loved every minute of that. But being able to call Warrandyte home for 5 years is a privilege and one that I've loved.
Warrandyte's quest for flag glory didn't end at the seniors' conclusion, however. The reserves, after falling to Whitehorse by 10 points in the qualifying final, booked a grand final rematch against the Pioneers after defeating Bulleen Templestowe in the preliminary final by 40 points. Ben Richardson was dynamic to be Warrandyte's best on ground, while Gareth Hitchman and Ben Ogilvie each booted 4 goals. Meanwhile, the under-19s enjoyed a dominant 77-point elimination final win against Whitehorse, led by Samuel Ferguson, Oliver Elmsley and Charlie Hovey, before falling to Kilsyth by 29 points in the preliminary final.
Warrandyte stalwart farewelled after historic semi-final.
Warrandyte's first foray into women's finals was significant for a variety of reasons. It was the first time in club history that a women's team had progressed to finals, and the August 10 showdown against Vermont Eagles at Sylvan Reserve garnered support from the Bloods faithful. Against the eventual premier, Warrandyte found themselves only 10 points in arrears at half-time, with the efforts of Evie Callow, Tilly Hodgson and Rose Rostron providing the backbone of the Bloods' efforts. However, the Eagles proved a bridge too far for the brave Bloods, eventually running away to a 21-point victory. Callow booted 2 goals, while Eden Carruthers also chimed in with a major. The defeat marked the end of a superb season from Warrandyte, but also the end of one of its popular stalwarts' careers. Jenny Truella, often seen behind the lens at most Bloods games, joined the playing ranks ahead of the 2023 season, playing 31 games and often standing as one of Warrandyte's most energetic and reliable performers. The semi-final was her last, and Truella was chaired off post-game by daughter and skipper Maddie Truella, bringing the curtain down on the playing exploits of one of Warrandyte's favourite figures.